one question back to Andrew real quick, is you talked a little bit about sort of this idea of kind of like encouraging or doing great work, adding value, and having those people then work for you, sort of as your marketers through word of mouth. Are there any particular strategies that work well for you? Maybe you don't think of them as strategies, but like, is it exceptional customer service? Is it exceptional work product? Is it actually asking clients, hey, do you know of anybody else who needs these types of services? What gets people to talk about you? Because I think back to what we talked about originally, word of mouth is so strong. It has such high conversion. Are there good ways to stimulate word of mouth that aren't obvious, or maybe are obvious and people just don't do?
I mean, I don't know about obvious versus non-obvious. I mean, for me, I mean, so I view lawyers for the most part as fungible. Like, they can go. I mean, we're all assumingly very good attorneys, but there's lots of very good attorneys. So why choose me over somebody else? Why choose me over Big Law? When I was at Big Law, why choose this firm versus that firm? And it really does come back to the relationships, and it comes back to being responsive. So, if I get a Slack message, if I get an email, less so phone calls or text, but still sometimes, just respond as quickly as I can, just to at least acknowledge the receipt, and let them know at a high level, like, I'll look at this in X amount of time. Is that okay with you, etc. So that's the one thing that I know clients really like about. But as far as kind of word of mouth, I go back to just kind of what I said initially is, like, what types of people would I like to work with, and trying to identify them, as well as identify people who can help introduce me to them. And then finding ways to help my clients through the ecosystem. And so I want to be known in that, and I have gotten some positive traction this way, as a person like, oh, if you go to Andrew, he'll be able to help you identify who you need to talk to. And so, this hasn't always led to clients, but it's led to people reaching out to be like, hey, I need help with X, Y, and Z. Do you know who can help me with this? And so it's very much trying to be that facilitator.
Makes sense.
And so
Okay.
I found that to be useful in kind of, again, this concept of a brand, like, useful in people being like, oh, Andrew is good at this. And he can help me solve this problem.
Yeah, I was listening to an entirely separate podcast about basically creating exceptional. It had to do with a technology product. I think it was Wise. I think they're a fintech, but they basically said you need to create a 10 out of a 10 experience for people to want to talk about you, and anything below that is good. You probably did
Yep.
your job and did a good job, but they're not going to run around and tell the world about their lawyer who did a good job. They'll tell the world about the lawyer who like knocked their socks off. So it's and a lot of it has to do with customer experience. I think everyone on this call is a good lawyer and can do good work, but then there's that added kind of what gets you from an 8 or a 9 out of 10 to a 10 out of 10. And a lot of it has to do with customer experience that we're not taught in law school, and we're not taught at law firms or in-house. You're only taught through realizing you got to do it to get people to talk about you, building your own brand. I want to loop in Alex on that same question. The idea of like, getting people to talk more about you. Are there any strategies that you've employed?
Yeah. I'd say my biggest learning from it, and maybe I just haven't learned enough from it, is there isn't really a formula. It's so random who gives you word of mouth or not, or who likes you or not. And like you were talking about, Brian, getting from an 8 or 9 to 10, like it could be really as simple as like I'm always trying to do good work, obviously being responsive and stuff, but clients have such wild expectations and are such wild places like wildly different places in terms of what they know about what lawyers do and what they don't, that I don't know. It kind of just feels like a crapshoot, at least even for me. So my only strategy is like do good enough work. I'd say the other really good piece of strategy that's worked for me more and more, but I'm not very good at it. I try is trying to set better boundaries with clients and expectations is like by far number one, especially because I work with a lot of emerging company clients, but even more senior ones. If you kind of set your own grading curve, then it's easier to meet that curve. Whereas if you just like leave it up for the client to make up, they're gonna think you like do everything, like taxes, you wash their car, you like take their dogs for walks and stuff. I don't know. Like, they just go crazy in their expectations, even if you're giving them like world-class service. But yeah, it's so random. It's like I kind of think of it in my mind. It's like if, I don't know, all of us probably we have friends who have a lot of money and friends who don't have a lot of money. Sometimes my friends with the most money are like the ones who are like looking over every penny in the check when we split up like a dinner bill, and the ones who have like no money are like, I just got it, and you're like, that's kind of what it feels like with clients. Like it's just a personality trait. So hope you find good ones. Like Andrew was kind of saying, like we try and have a no jerks policy, but you know, jerk is in the eye of the beholder. So you just kind of got to do your best with what you got, I say.
I love that. No, I think that the thing that you said that really resonates with me is you have to have your own standard, because
Yeah.
if you're constantly trying to be everything for everyone and be good in everyone's eyes, you're never going to get good at anything. You're just going to be,
You're gonna fail.
dilute yourself. And if you hold yourself to a specific standard, you can actually continue to improve there and do better over time, even though it's not going to be what everyone expects of you. You'll you'll hit gold a few times, at least more so, if
Yeah.
you're improving.
And to be clear, I'm bad at this too myself. I try and do it, but it's I think it's like it's a life thing. So the better you get at it, I think the better you'll be. The more I do it, the more I'm happy. So hopefully it works for people here.
That's great.